and then let the elected officials make that decision.
How come there's no Wi-Fi on the trains? Advertiser-supported Wi-Fi could bring revenue in.
Amtrak actually just got it to work on the Northeast corridor, and it's something we're looking at, because I think Wi-Fi would be a good enhancement. But it's technology that up to this point has not been fully developed.
You have them on the buses, come on.
I'm just telling you what we're finding. I mean, you can believe me or you not believe me, but I'm telling you what we're seeing, because that was the first question I asked. Why can't we have Wi-Fi on the train? So I've had a whole series of people looking at how we get Wi-Fi. Yeah.
You had mentioned earlier about some parking structures.
Yeah.
Because I know I don't ride Metro or take the bus simply because there's no parking. So are there any plans for parking structures in the future? Like say, for example, in North Hollywood Station, Studio City. And I don't park in Studio City because it's a pretty scary walk.
Right.
Well, I better answer that because those are Metro, not Metrolink.
Yeah, that's Metro.
And because those are the urban rail stations, there are developments that are actually coming along. So the answer to your question is, North Hollywood Station has a development that's been planned that would add in a number like 500, 800 spaces. Problem is that when the recession hit, the project slowed down. Same thing with Universal City. In the LA Times a week or two ago, there was a big story about the environmental impact report coming out. There's a project called Metro Studio at Lancashire, and exactly as you said, besides lots of security and lots of other issues, they are going to be adding parking to those stations. But as the economy went bad, what was maybe perhaps opening this year or next year is still 3-4 years hence. So, and then at Metrolink, there's another issue in terms of each of the local cities controls the property. So, for example, in the Orange County area, there's certain cities there that are actually adding parking to their stations. It's just that they've been more aggressive in the world of car culture in Orange County. There's a whole list that Metrolink has that shows the stations and the parking capacities and what different local cities are doing to increase the parking. I hope that addresses your question. Some of this is coming.
Oh, it is, okay.
It is coming, just the economy slowed some of the developments down.
Hey Bart, one thing you should say also, I think you hit it, is that people get Metro and Metrolink confused all the time.
John, why don't you talk about the branding?
Well, I mean, you know, I would have to say that I think transit agencies have the most unimaginative names of any place that are. What is it about Metro? You have Metro, Metro. I mean, everywhere across the country, all these transit agencies are named basically the same thing. And I think it's very confusing. We get so many phone calls a day for LA Metro. They call our call centers, they have no idea. And, you know, I would love one day to rename, rebrand the company because I think it's confusing. I think it's really difficult for people. I mean, even when I was looking to come out here, I was trying to figure out the difference. You know, I kept seeing LA. I'd pull up Metrolink and I'd come up to LA Metro, and it's confusing as all get out. And so if you're, I don't know if Sharita, if you found the same thing when you came trying to do research, but.
Well, whenever I was looking into coming up here from Texas, you know, do my Google searches, or I was looking at, you know, different clips, and then I would be like, why are they having articles in St. Louis about Metrolink, and what they cover Metrolink in Manchester, and so it's just confusing, just that exact same name. Very confusing. Even when we're doing news clips, we're having to find a way to eliminate articles that aren't really about us, because we'll, you know, waste time reading. You know,
I think the best transit agency that did a job naming was New Mexico Rail Runner. I don't know if you've seen their trains. Yeah. They did a fabulous job. Have you seen the paint scheme where they got the Road Runner and it's on the cars and the locomotive? They probably did the best job of anybody. And you know, people in New Mexico, I don't know if anybody's spent much time in New Mexico. Oh, you're from there? Well, I used to live out in West Texas, so my territory went into New Mexico. So I spent a lot of time in garden spots like Malin, and you might have been in Malin, you know it's not a garden spot, but you know, these people love that train. They love that train. It's a great looking train. And I'd love to have something that the people of Southern California would identify as their train. You know, something that people could take pride in. I just don't think, you know.
Does Metrolink plan on doing anything about the website Metrolink.com, which is a website designed to fool people thinking it's a Metrolink site, and it actually profits off of your name, which is an obvious violation of the law, which you can sue.
First time I've heard about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you know the Metrolink rider was actually, your company actually went after us? And a number of other websites?
Oh, you did?
But you didn't go after Metrolink.com.
I don't know anything about it.
Okay, all right. I'll give you an article.
Okay.
Kevin?
You were mentioning earlier communicating with your passengers and trying to get a better idea of what they have to experience. And an earlier speaker in this series was Art Leahy of Metro. And
Not to be confused with Metrolink.
Exactly. Did I say that? And one of the points he made was that when he came in, he started requiring his managers to take public transit into work, preferably the metro, preferably the buses, because I don't know how often you ride the buses, but no matter how much in our hearts we want to support public transit, riding the buses can be a real challenge here. And so that they could appreciate, as you mentioned, what we have to go through.
Right.
And I wonder if Metrolink has a similar policy with regard to its managers commuting day in and day out to work.
Well, a lot of them come to LA do, and the ones that work out in Pomona don't have that option. But what we end up doing, every manager is required to ride trains. It's part of their job requirements. And you know, when I talked earlier about being disconnected, if you never go out and you run the operating center, you never get on a train, there's a problem. And so every manager now is required to ride trains every month, and whether you commute or not. Some of it doesn't work with shifts, some of it it's just not practical, but still doesn't relieve your responsibility to know your product.
The GM runs back and forth on the train.
Yeah, the general manager, he rides back and forth downtown, and we get them out there. Because I think that we're getting ready to move to the Gateway building, which I'm looking forward to that. We're moving sometime in May. And I love that because we're going to be right at Union Station, and we can look out and see trains. And I think there's a lot of value to being close to what you do and being close to your work. And I think, being downtown, I'm so glad we got the chance to move to the Gateway building. I think that's going to make a big difference. Yeah.
Looking at the potential upcoming plans for the high-speed rail in coming through Los Angeles, and the potential for building run-through tracks at Union Station, is Metrolink looking at what is potentially in the planning stages and how they can utilize such resources if they come available, even building your own set right next to the high-speed rail so that you can run.
We're intimately, and we have to be.
Right.
Matter of fact, high-speed rail couldn't do what they need to in the LA area without us. They're going to be on our right-of-way. So we're very intimately involved with the high-speed rail, making sure that's coordinated.
Yeah. You can run through tracks.
Well, as we sit down and we look at it, we've seen the design, and you really have to model out what's that going to do to capacity. We've looked at a whole series of things. There's nothing that's on the final drawing board at this point, but we're involved in all those discussions. Yeah.
I want to follow up Patrick's question about the run-through tracks. I went to one of the meetings some years ago when David Gunn was still president of Amtrak, and I don't know I know the funding is not there right now. Is there any way to get some funding for that?
For which part?
For the run-through tracks project he was talking about?
Not, it, you know, hasn't been, it's not on the top of the drawing board right now.
That's what I thought.
But we have been very heavily involved. The engineering discussions have been influential in that whole design of the whole LA station layout for the run-through tracks and convincing high-speed rail to try to put all of that at the same level so that we all can benefit from whatever purpose.
If it ever gets here with all
If
the
it ever
roads.
gets there. But
Okay, thank you.
you do things long range in advance in order for them to turn out, because they're long-range projects.
We've actually got a very good engineering group, and that's one thing I'm blessed with. I've got a great set of engineers. Yeah.
Something that I've always found I've always had a question about this. When I've taken Metrolink, just the fare collection, sometimes, I mean, it's random. I know that Amtrak is your operator, or is that right?
Amtrak's, yeah.
And I mean, I've heard Amtrak, and you know, they're really on you about making sure who has a ticket and who doesn't. And on Metrolink, it's random. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they do it twice, sometimes they don't even do it at all on the whole trip. And I just wanted to know why that is. Is that a policy? Is that something you want to do?
Amtrak's staffed differently,
Okay.
and you know, we've kicked around this whole thing on fare enforcement. That's a topic near and dear to me. There's a whole series of things we're looking at on how we do a better job with fare enforcement. Now, if you look at what Amtrak does, I mean, they have people that's their whole job in life is to do fare enforcement. You know, we've kept the staff down. Now, if you ever do that, you have to determine is the cost worth what you collect. And so there's a lot of analysis done, looking at how can you got to have a balance between what it costs you for fare evasion and what benefits you gain from it. So it's a big deal. And I can't give you a good answer because I don't know if I know what the right answer is. But it's one of those things we've got to work together.
Do you have any more questions? Tony?
Good. Two small questions. One, is there an app for Metrolink?
Is there a what?
An app for the iPhone and stuff like that? And that in
Sharita knows all about that stuff.
Actually, there's a new mobile website. We just launched it probably about 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago. And this will, it automatically, if you're logging on a smartphone, it automatically takes you there. It's much easier. You can find out where your next train's coming. You can go to the news section and see all the news updates and news releases. It also, it's integrated with our Twitter feed. So if there's a line that you ride, you can go to the website instead of going on to Twitter. If you don't want to be distracted by other tweets, if you want to just see what Metrolink's doing. So it's very integrated. We've also just launched a site for developer resources, where basically if you're a developer, we put our schedule and fare and information like that in a format that you could use it to build an application. So what we're hoping to do with that is spur innovation and have third-party apps invented for us.
Yeah, I got it right here.
And
Just
he's
go to
got it back there.
metrolinktrains.com on a smartphone, same
He's
URL.
got it back there. He's got it.
So, and the last question is safety related, obviously, and there's been a lot of news on about the TSA lately, and how is that going to implicate safety on railroad platforms? Is that going to be something coming in the near future?
TSA? Traffic Safety Administration.
Or is it?
He's talking about.
Like the X-ray machine.
It's like the airport,
Yeah,
like the airport.
The airport,
Oh, you mean all the protection
It's
that's
like the safety,
security issues?
security issues.
You know, I haven't heard that that's going to affect us. Have you, Fred? I haven't heard anything about that one. That would be a nightmare.
We do stay on top of all security alerts. Our forces, our sheriffs and so forth, are on top of all of those issues whenever they occur or whatever threats might happen. So we have a very, very alert, responsive police force, the sheriff.
But I haven't heard any, there's been nothing, I haven't heard any discussion about it.
Are you aware of the, I guess the Sheriff's Department got a $10 million grant And what they did was they went to go into stations at random, they put a sign up in front saying everybody's going to be inspected if they come in, and then they make you, go through your bag and everything. And I thought that was really great, except for the fact that most of our terrorists are better educated than me, speak better English than I do. And when you put a sign up that says, oh, we're going to inspect you, if it has an ounce of brains, since he's a college educated, I assume that, he won't go.